Why treif is usher? These are all fascinating questions, but it's a different mindset. When you're learning halacha, you're getting into the nitty-gritty of the halacha. It'd be no different than a doctor who is dealing with a patient, God forbid. He's in the oncology ward. And the person has cancer, they're trying to treat it. Well, why did God do... The doctor, that's not his mindset now. Here's the cancer, it's spread this point, but not beyond, and maybe the patient will react to it. It's a different headspace. So is there a time to ask why? You can do that, but that's a separate discipline. So to me, just like you have the what of a researcher, of a medical person, of a physicist, and then you have the why of the philosopher, so when we're learning halacha, we're learning the what. And we're learning halacha categories. But why is it that? Nice question, but that's a separate discipline. Not a bad question. It's an excellent question, but it's like mixing apples and oranges. It's two separate disciplines.
Like mixing milk and meat.
Mixing milk and meat, that's a good one. Okay, it's just two separate worlds. It's a good world, okay? So it's just very, very important. Sometimes people say, well, I heard that the reason pig is because of health and trichinosis. And did anyone ever say that might be the reason behind it? Yes, but does that have anything to do with halacha? It would be like saying, going back to comparison, this person who's ill, I heard the reason that he's ill is because he spoke a lot of Lashon Hara. So maybe if you have the world of Tzarat, you could connect the why and the what. But you know why he's ill? Because in business, he's really, he's involved in dirty business. This is what God did to. So fine, let me go to a rabbi, do tshuva, but right now we're in the framework of the what. So with halacha and kashrut, we're dealing with the what the categories are, what the prohibitions are. Okay, so you have Tamei HaMitzvos and B, the guide to perplex, Sefer Chinuch, the halachic mind written by Rav Soloveitchik, where Rav Soloveitchik said that, when you read the Monavuchim, the Rav was one of the greatest minds we've had in generations, and he writes about the Monavuchim. It's interesting ideas, it's speculative ideas of why this and why that, but it's really a separate topic totally, and it's a speculative topic, the why. As opposed to halacha, that's our anchor. That's our anchor, and we work with the categories of halacha. Sometimes we might understand a little bit of the philosophy behind it. Sometimes we don't. And therefore, we are detail-oriented, okay? Sometimes people say, you get so caught up in the details and you don't see beyond. You want to see the forest, you want to see the trees, but you want to have both. You don't want to give one up or the other. You want to have just a religion that makes you feel good. No, you want to have both. You want to have a religion where we're careful about the halachot, and we adhere to all the details. And of course, we want to work on the general principles of Judaism as well. There's no contradiction at all to be involved in every detail of halacha and not miss anything. And of course, work on general growth in spirituality. Okay, that's just a general introduction. Okay. 2, now let's get more into Kashrut. Kashrut is not monolithic. Just like Jewish philosophy is not monolithic, you have a lot of different ideas out there and attitude towards different topics. Kashrut as well. It's not like, is it mutter or is it aser? I said, if he eats it, then it's fine. Why is he being so stringent? And how come he doesn't eat by him? It's all politics. It's not true. It's not true. I'm not going to deny there are some politics and some nasty stuff that sometimes goes on in the world of kashrus and hashkachot, and he badmouths him, and this industry and this kashrut organization badmouths the other one. There's some bad stuff, but the idea that this person won't eat that, but it may not necessarily be wrong and treif, that's not far-fetched. That's not far-fetched. What do I mean? So look at B. 2b. The concept of mahadrin by kashrut. Now, what does that mean? The concept of mahadrin by kashrut. How many restaurants do you see all over the place? And how many hashkachot do you see where it says that the restaurant is what? Mahadrin. Now, the term mahadrin in halacha, one case where we have it 1 week a year, the concept of mahadrin, and mahadrin min mahadrin is Hanukkah. And you'll see that by restaurants. Mahadrin, and once in a while you might see Mahadrin min Mahadrin. So I guess that means that the restaurant on Hanukkah lights 8 candles, or lights a menorah for every person who dines at the restaurant.
All 33 different stacks.
or a very good-looking state. So what does it mean, mahadrin and mahadrin? What do these terms mean? What does mahadrin mean? In halacha on Hanukkah, it means a certain amount of people are lighting. And mahadrin means you light for every single person and you add on to a candle each night. As opposed to basic law on Hanukkah is that we can all be in one house together, and the din is we can light how many candles for the whole week? One each night, and that's it. That's din. Then we, Klal Yisrael, have gone mahadrin, or we even gone mahadrin. We go up a candle a night, and we do a sefer Hanukkah for each person. Very nice. That's mahadrin on Hanukkah. What does it mean by restaurants? So if we look up in the Shulchan Aruch, Hilchot Mahadrin, we're going to have to look for a very long time because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. As opposed to in Hilchos Hanukkah, if you look up, how do I do Mahadrin by Hanukkah? Oh, it tells us. Well, the basic halacha is this. If you want to do a new candle each night, and that's that. Hey, Mahadrin. It doesn't exist by Kashrut. So what are all these restaurants, what do they mean by Mahadrin? So are you going to find the answer to that question in the Shulchan Aruch? No. It's a bit vague, but it's not like it's a black hole. It's not. There is a meaning to it. And it means the following. I gave some examples, but the list is not exhaustive, okay? 2b, the concept of by Kashrut. So it's really a borrowed term to try to say that we're keeping a very high standard. That's what it means. Now, there's no Shulchan Aruch chapter that says this is what it means to keep a high standard in kashrus. No. It's just there are different leniencies that are acceptable, and there's certain stringencies. And Mahadrin claims to be doing what? Keeping more of the stringencies. What are some of the examples? Tvilat Kalim. Now you say, that's an example of a stringency. We're going to get to that. That's probably going to be the next topic. If magically we finish number 5 tonight, number 6, so there's no room on the paper, is going to be Tvilat Kalim. Is that an option? Does anyone here think that I bought a new pot and maybe I'll tovel it? Yeah, I think I'm going to tovel it. No way. It is a biblical obligation to tovel the pot. So why did I put that on the list as a mahadrin? That a restaurant that tovels its pots and pans, that's mahadrin? That's basics. Anyone know the answer?
It's business.
And therefore, there are those that want to say that what is obligated in Tvilat Kalim when I buy a kli for my personal use. When I buy not for me to use, it's for the business. There are those that want to say what? That's not obligated in Tvilah. It's an interesting idea, and it's a surprising idea because what's the difference? It needs to be looked into. And many, maybe even most, I didn't do a survey, and I'd have to call the Rabbanut Beit Shemesh to see what they hold. And I would love, after the shiurim, if you tell me, hey, could we find out? We eat here in Beit Shemesh all the time, but what are they? Do they hold by that standard or not? Those are great questions. And Rav Morsiaf from the Rabbanut Beit Shemesh, I have his number. I call him all the time. He's a wonderful man, and he's great. He'll tell me. He'll tell me in a second. Oh, we do tovel everything. Or maybe not. It'll be an interesting question. So there are legitimate opinions. Rav Avadia Yosef. Rav Avadia Yosef says that a restaurant does not have, a restaurant, does not have to tovel. Because when the owners buy it, it's not for their personal use. And Tevilat Kalim is when it's for personal use. So everyone in our home, we all have to do it. And it's not some stringency. It's din. Many of us, when we grew up, it was not done. And then some of us, we'd go to yeshiva, and we'd learn about it. Then we would come home, and we would try as best as we can to break the news to our parents. And like, oh, man, you're crazy. And then a new term was coined a few years ago called flipping out. There was even a song made, Flipping Out. And to me, it's not a good term, because if it means you're going crazy, well, it depends. If you're going and says, listen, Mom and Dad, I'm so religious, I'm going to learn for the next 150 years, I'm going to have 25 kids, and you're going to support them. So then, that's a little extreme. That's not really a simple way to learn that that's what a Jew's supposed to be doing. But if it means Mom and Dad,
thank you for sending me to Israel for the year, because now I am totally anchored in a book which we always spoke about, and we always learned over the years, and that book I'm anchored in is what? The Shulchan Aruch. And whatever it says, I follow now. We weren't always so good about everything, but I'm going to follow everything. And there is a chapter about Tovel and Kalim. So when I got a little bit more into it, we had a beach a few houses away from my house. So I don't know if my parents were thrilled that that's why I was taking the silverware into the ocean. But, okay, my mom was at Tzaddikas, and they were cool with that. We didn't have a mikveh in Bel Harbor for Kalim. But it wasn't like some stringency. That's din. That's halacha. Except if you're in a hotel, there are those who are lenient, like Rav Ovadia Yosef. So therefore, that a Mahadran Hashgacha usually will not rely on that leniency. They will tovel their kalim, but Rabbanut will not. Okay. Now, a point I want to just add in about Rav Ovadia Yosef, okay? The great Sephardic posek. As we learn different halachot together, whether it's kashrut or anything else, sometimes when I quote Rav Ovadia Yosef, someone will say to me, I mean, he was a great man, great posek, this and that, but he was what? Sephardic. What does that have to do with us? It's a great question. And the answer is, he has everything to do with us. When do we not follow Rav Ovadia Yosef? When will an Ashkenaz not follow Rav Ovadia? When he's giving over what? The Sephardic tradition. But when he's just analyzing a sugya, microwave in halacha in the 20th century, we have a new concept of a microwave. And now he's going to explore it and analyze it. Can you keep meat and milk in it or not? Oh no, he's Sephardic, I don't listen to him. No. Only when there's a specific Sephardic tradition. He's talking about rice on Pesach. When he's talking about rice on Pesach, then what? Obviously, I cannot follow his conclusion because that's a Sephardic tradition. And I don't eat rice on Pesach. But when he's not talking about rice, he's not about anything with a Sephardic tradition, he's analyzing this topic in halacha. So then, of course, we're going to see what he has to say. Do you hear what I'm saying? Okay. So that's just an important point to know about any posek. With Mordechai, any posek. It's not like an Ashkenaz doesn't listen to Sephardic posek. Just, you have to know what topic. And more often than not, almost always, when Rav Ovadia gives over a topic where there's a difference between Ashkenaz and Sephardim, what will he do? He'll say, oh, the Sephardim hold this way, Ashkenazim hold that way. Okay, fine. So that's Tvilah Kiyas. That's a bit of a surprising idea, but that's one example where Mahadran Hashgacha may not rely on that leniency. Next, Mashgiach Tamidi. What's Mashgiach Tamidi? So we have a Ner Tamid. It's always going. So a Mahadran establishment, not necessarily, but will often try to have what? Mashgiach there all the time. For dairy or meat, but once again, a consumer, what I would love is that when we finish these shiurim, and you want to go to some hotel somewhere, or you're invited to a wedding, and you say, right now, I never heard this place, Danny Myers, can you look into it? And you will know what questions I'm going to ask about this place. And you'll know, oh yeah, they have this, they told for the Kalim. You'll know what issues are issues, or something that you even want to ask. So Mashgiach Tamidi means that they want to have a mashgiach there all the time. And otherwise, you could have what's known as what? Yotzei v'nichnas. Someone goes in and out. The idea is supposed to be that the owner never knows what? When you're coming in and out. And that's legitimate. But when there's a lot of action going on, some people and consumers say, you know what, I'd feel more comfortable that there's someone always there. There's orders, there's coming in and out, there's just busy. And many hotels are not going to rely on the Yotzei V'Nichnas. Rabbanut hotels as well, because there's just so much going on. Okay. Another example is Heter Mechira. Now, Heter Mechira is a tricky one. Heter Mechira is referring to what? Shemitah. I don't know if I would just call that a leniency. But that's definitely a question that you want to address, because why do I say this is not like the other ones? Clearly, if you have a place where there's a mashgiach that comes once every day, for a few minutes it pops in and out, which I'm not saying is wrong, and another place that's a mashgiach 24/7, you would say it's a higher level of hashgacha. You call it a, quote, mahadran level, right? Tvilat Kalim, they tovel everything. They get new knives, spoons, everything, right to the mikveh. That is a higher level. They're not relying on the lenient opinions. This hotel doesn't rely on het mechira, on selling the land in the 7th year. Oh, so they're clearly a higher level? Not so tricky, because very often, by them not relying on het mechira, selling the land to our beloved cousins, they are instead buying the produce from our beloved cousins, some of them living where? In Gaza. In Gaza, right? They might be buying produce from Gaza. So if you tell me they're buying all the produce from Abu Ghosh, that's a pretty friendly town. We can all walk there 3 in the morning in Abu Ghosh. It's right near Telstone on the way to Yerushalayim, with zero fear. I mean, you can have fear if you want, but statistically, nothing has happened there in 60 years. Those are friendly cousins, if you want to call it that. So you want to tell me we're buying from there, so okay, that's what to discuss, but we're buying from our enemies, so which is the stringency, which is the leniency? I'm stringent. I don't buy from a restaurant that relies on heta mechira, selling the land. Oh, really? So then you're buying from your sworn enemies to give them more money to build tunnels. It's complicated. So that to me is an example where it's not always black and white. It's just a higher level of hashgacha. It's just different. It's just different. Okay. And in a few years, when we get close to heta mechira, to shmita, we can discuss it again, and we'll see. Next, halak glat meat. Okay, so there is a term right from the Shulchan Aruch. Halak, glat. Glat is Yiddish. Halak is Hebrew. And there, what do we mean? That's a real halachic issue. What do we mean there? That the lungs are what? Smooth, totally smooth. Okay, as opposed to you feel the lungs, the shochet feels the lung, it's not smooth. There's adhesions to it. But there's certain leniencies that maybe it's not really a hole in the lung and the adhesion is covering it up, and therefore it's all right. Or no. You want to know that that's totally smooth and not worrying on that. You're not saying, you're not relying that, well, really, it's covered, but it's fine. No. Oh, it's smooth totally. That's a major argument in the rabbis in the Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, Dovi.
When something's not halak, like it doesn't say it's not, does that mean that they've checked and there is sirchas?
Excellent question. Excellent.
Great
question. Great question. I'm going to address it in a moment. It's a very good question. Okay? So that's already a very serious halacha. There you need to be an educated consumer, because the Shulchan Aruch writes that it has to be halak. It has to be. And the adhesions, and it's called the sircha in Hebrew, that's a problem. The Ramah, which is another important name to know, the Sfardim go by Rav Yosef Karo, wrote the Shulchan Aruch, and the Ashkenazim go by the Ramah Moshe Slus. He's the one who says there's room to be lenient. So when you're purchasing meat, usually many people, especially Sfardim for sure, need to have glat meat. And Ashkenazim, there's room to be lenient, but I'd call it a good stringency to get halak meat. If I'm not mistaken, Ramat Beit Shemesh, could you even get a meat that's not halak? Anyone ever see out here any meat that's rabbanut, regular rabbanut, that's not halak? I've never seen it out here. Has anyone ever seen it? I remember I was once relatives in Ranana, and there it said regular meat, not halak, which is nothing bad about that. It's just, that's clearly a different standard. You're not going to find a, quote, Mahadran restaurant that is going to sell regular meat, okay? Is there official definition in the Shulchan Aruch Mahadran? No. These are just all examples so we can understand what we mean by Mahadran and just be an educated consumer to know what's out there, okay? Yes?
With blood, it's only the lungs, nothing of the intestines.
Excellent. It's the lungs. It's the lungs. So look at that. In your merit, Ed, it happens we open up to Lamed. Okay. Ein tzarich livdok acha shum treifut min hastam. You don't need to check. You don't need to check any part of the animal. If you would, it'd be like crazy. The meat would be thousands and thousands of shekels a kilo. If the shochet would have to spend hours and hours checking every animal. No, we rely on an assumption that what? Everything is fine with all the different organs of the animal. Chutz, except for one part of the animal, which is which one? The lung. Sarich livdok bebehema v'chaya im yesh pasircha. Okay, that you have to check for that one. Why? Aluli taref mimnei hasirchot ushar treif v'jeshrichi ba. Often you have an animal's problems by the lungs. So that's the only place you have to check. By everything else, if you find there's a problem, it could be a problem, but only by the lungs we're afraid that it was pierced, and maybe there's a hole there, and that's why they blow it up to see if it's complete or not. Okay. Yeah.
There's a kind of chicken that my daughter buys, and if I buy that chicken, they have a cut in the legs.
Ah, very good point. Very good point. So I'll mention that quickly. So really, from the Shulchan Aruch standpoint, why are they checking the legs? And by them checking the legs, you say, wow, that's just being extra careful. And they're checking this called the Tzomat Hagidim, a part of the legs. And that's great. So they're being more careful. Well, it's not so simple. Because once you start checking the legs to see if there's a break there, well, that means more people have to check. Then it's more money, more jobs. Who's paying for that? We are. And then that becomes a standard. So it's not simple just to say, our Hashgacha company, we're going to be stringent. And if you want to buy it. Don't know, because then that becomes the new standard. And wait a second, why are we having that stringency? Because based on the handling of the chickens and the shots that the chickens have, and the way they have 3,000 of them in this one truck, so now, unfortunately, you can have more breakage, and they have to be checked. That's the thinking there. So that's why you might have the Shulchan Aruch not mentioning a word about it, and now some Hashgacha companies say, oh, we have to do this. That was what happened. So you need to do the research, and this is not a simple area to research, because it's not just a question of studying the Shulchan Aruch. You need to know what? What do you need to study? The facts. You need to be a farmer. You need to be Farmer Joe and be out there on the farm looking at the chickens. Is there any higher percentage of broken legs now than 100, 500 years ago?
Why is a broken leg an issue?
That's called a what? When an animal has a broken limb, what's that called? Treif. It's called treif. An animal's treif. Don't forget, I'm glad you mentioned that, Edie. Just terms. A behema tameya is, what's a behema tameya? An animal which by its very nature is not kosher. An animal that dies on its own and wasn't shechted, a cow. It's a kosher cow, but it died before shechita. That's called nevela. If you remember these terms, fine. I didn't even put them down, but just since you asked, an animal that has a broken limb, that's called treifa. What did the brothers say about Yosef? Taraf, that he was broken apart by an animal. Okay. So now, Edie, some poskim want to say that based on the handling, the statistics for certain limbs have just gone up. That's the thinking. Okay. What?
No, they told me that the reason is because the muscles are not strong enough in the leg because the chickens spend too much time in the cage. So unless it's got a strong enough muscle, and that's what they're checking.
Well,
It's not a soft.
It's a sinew, not a muscle.
A sinew.
Yeah.
right. But the bottom line is that's where things get tricky. They're claiming, and listen, they have to be literally out in the field to.
What's the issue with
But
that? What's wrong with a sinew that's too soft?
So there's so much Hagida that we could get into that more. I mean, the Shulchan Aruch talks about the Gidim, which normally we don't assume there's a problem. But you have to know the facts on the ground. What are they saying the percentages of breakages or not? And then at what point do you say that's a percentage that I care about or that I need to start looking into and hiring mashgiachim to check? You have to get into all the halachas of what's considered treif, right? And then I have to look into statistics. When do I have to worry about that?
The muscle not being strong enough?
No, the muscle itself, no, it's so much hagid.
Whatever. It's not broken. They're checking to see if the sinew is hard enough.
No, if the sinew is broken.
Nah, sinew is broken. If it's broken.
The rabbi told me it was because they're in the cage and the muscles get weak.
No, it never could be broken. Never could be broken. No, the fear is trait. The fear is trait. The fear is trait. That's what the issue is.
If a chicken has a bruise,
Yeah.
it means that the break was there before it died. So that's a problem?
That's the problem. Exactly. If it breaks after the shechita, you're fine. It's when it happened before. That's the issue. Exactly.
So you can't just cut it off, the whole chicken?
No, once it's a treif animal, it's that the whole thing is gone. Exactly. Now, Dovi, what was your question?
I was going to say, it's not life-threatening if it breaks its legs, and yet it's still a treif animal, like you say, like the treif
I think that's what we hold. Yeah. I think so.
Because trash means it's going to last a year. And an
Yes.
animal with a broken limb, it's not going to...
Yeah, no. So Dovi says, how much do we differentiate for case by case? It's a good question. But what was your other? You had another question. Oh, Sephardi? No.
said that halak is
Oh, yeah, good question. So, wait. So, does that mean when you go to a store and it says it's not halak, it doesn't say halak, right? So, does that mean that's not halak? Not 100%. It could be that they'll go ahead and do shechita on the animal. They'll check it. And it doesn't pass the test, so they'll sell it off to the others who are going to sell it as not halak. Doesn't mean that for sure it's not halak. It could be that it is halak, but...
My question was, everyone's checking? That was my question. Meaning...
Well, lungs have to be checked. Have to be. Everyone has to check it, yeah. Yeah, has to check, yeah. The only thing is Ramah's lenient with the sircha. Okay.
Are they checking lungs of chickens as well?
No. It's, Behema v'chaya.
What are they checking when they cut open the back
Of the,
of the chicken? Now you get what they call split back chickens.
is that because I think that's the salting. In America, they use salt by keeping it complete and put the salt in. Here, they open the chicken, and so it's to be salted when it's exposed more. So that's the difference. I don't know, do you have any chickens here that are whole? Can you have a whole chicken here? You do? So like a Rabbanut chicken, I imagine. Any of them? Which one, the Orbach? Orbach. Yeah, it is whole. So they're relying on putting the salt inside the... which you look at the Shulchan Aruch, Tzaladiach Basar Kodem Alicha, and it says, Yifazeh alav melach shelo yisher b'makom v'li. There should be in no place without melach. Kalosha yerosh. There should be so much salt that he can't eat it because there's so much salt there. And ofo, birds, you put the salt from inside. And if you only did it inside, it's mutter. So there's someone to say it's all right, but you want to try to split it, and you have different standards. So that's interesting to know about Orbach chickens, that it's that way. Okay? Yes?
So, again, going back to the chicken and legs, so but if you have a package that's wrapped, it's covered up, or whatever, but it looks like the leg is snapped at the bottom. Is that, you assume that it was seen that happened after the shkita?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think once you have a good ashkacha and it's an obvious break, so we assume that they checked it and it happened in shipping afterwards.
So there are a lot of good kashurim, like chickens, you can buy here, in which they don't check the legs. But there are many that do. So
Correct.
How is one supposed to view this?
Good question. Good question. I want to throw out one more term, and then we'll see if we can deal with that. Because we're talking about the term halak. So that clearly is a mahadrin and a non-mahadrin level. Okay? So there is another term I just want to make sure we get to. Halak Beit Yosef. Okay? Halak Beit Yosef, and you have Badatz Beit Yosef. Okay? So you've heard of both terms, Badatz Beit Yosef, Halak Beit Yosef? Yes? No? Okay. So, Halak Beit Yosef, Badatz Beit Yosef are two very different terms. Okay? So Margaret, all the meat that we get, the Rabbanut is from South America, Halak, and if I'm not mistaken, it says Halak Beit Yosef on it. And it's not Badatz Beit Yosef. So all the meat that we get is from South America. And the Rabbanut has a team out there where they do the shechita and supervise it. Okay, Uruguay, I think. Okay? And then it's brought over here. It's, I think, salted there, then brought over here. It used to be frozen, then salted here, but I think they stopped that. That's a whole nother fascinating topic. And it says on it, we'll make sure and check, hopefully tomorrow I'll stop by, but I think it says always halak beit Yosef, okay? Now, halak beit Yosef means the following. It's halak, that the lungs are smooth, and that they're assuring that. And the shechita is according to the beit Yosef. The beit Yosef is whom? Rav Yosef Karo. And it's saying according to the Beit Yosef with his standards and whatever stringencies he had with the shchitas and whatever else, okay, and certainly he held you have to have halak. He did not rely on any leniencies with the adhesions. So this is Rav Yosef Karo's standard, so that a Sephardi who only would like the Rav Yosef Karo standard, that's the Sephardic tradition, this is halak according to Beit Yosef. Not to be confused with Badat's Beit Yosef. What is Badat's Beit Yosef? It's a name of a hechsher by which family? Rav Ovadia Yosef's family. The former chief rabbi, now the present chief rabbi, that's his son, Rav Yitzchak Yosef. So their family has what? A hashgacha that they oversee. And it's called Badat's Beit Yosef. So it's a cute name because Beit Yosef refers to Rav Yosef Karo, and Beit Yosef also refers to which family name? Rav Yosef, Rav Ovadia Yosef's family's name. So it's a catchy name, but it's a confusing name. It's a confusing name. And another term you need to know, what is Badatz? Everyone is a Badatz today. Okay? So you go to Machbud, look closely, Badatz. Margaret, if not, we'll look tomorrow together, but I'm pretty sure the Rabbanut meat that we get, I'm pretty sure it says Beit Din Tzedek Badatz, Rabbanut. Badatz means Beit Din Tzedek. That it's considered a righteous Beit Din. That's all it means. And it's called Badatz. Okay, so you say, I only eat Badatz. Someone comes over, what do you eat? What hashkach? I only eat Badatz. Well, that could be 20 different hashkachas.
Doesn't it usually mean Eitzach?
No.
Like,
It's all a question of social usage. In Toldos Aaron, in Mei Yesharim, when you say Badatz, you only mean Badatz Eidah Charidit. Over here, let's say we're working on the Kiddush policy in the shul. We're only going to have Badatz. Does that mean we're only going to have Badatz Eidah Charidit? Not a chance. We might have Chassam Sofer. We might have Chassam from Bnei Brak. We might have Chassam Sofer, Petach Tikva. We might have Rav Machbud. We might have Badatz Beit Yosef. We're just not going to have, quote, a regular. I'm just saying, I'm not saying we're going that way. But if we would use the term Badatz, we would have 20 different examples. So it's a question of what your connotation is, right? So in Mei Yesharim, that's it. The Badatz Eidah Charidit won the day over there. And their allegiance is to that and to that only. But others might have a more expanded use for the term. Okay? Fine. So, yeah.
With the Halak Beit Yosef, so that meat, if we were not allowed to have, that was...
Oh, no. The Halak Beit Yosef it means that they're claiming a higher standard. That it's even good for the Sephardim, meaning the Sephardim in this area are more stringent. Of course, nothing less than halak will do. No, this works even for the Beit Yosef. And all the more so for Ashkenazim. Okay, so now, I didn't forget about your question, Mort. Yes?
What is the significance of the holograms?
You just want to make sure that it's sealed. The hologram, which one? On the package?
Why? Because you normally about things that do have a hologram, and then I saw Chalak Beit Yosef. What did you say? What Margaret has, and didn't have a hologram on it, and I wondered if there was a difference in the standard, if it did or it didn't have.
I don't think so. I think so. Now, like on our boxes, it's taped up. You just want to have that no one could fiddle around with it. That's the main thing. So on the boxes, you have, I think we do have hologram on the bag itself, and then the boxes are totally taped up and sealed. The main thing is you want to see that there's no funny foul play. And you have to insure it somehow or another. So holograms could be totally wrapped, sealed. So as far as I know, I don't think there's a difference in that. Okay. But before I'm going to take the questions, but before we do that, I want to make sure we have all our terms clear so we can be educated consumers. So let's get back to the boxes of meat, okay, that we get from South America. So Margaret's an industrial amount. You go to the store, and you see it's Rabbanut, Rashit, Chalak. Mahadran. Okay, exactly. So let's understand that term. So Rabbanut Rashit means that the hashgacha here is the Rabbanut, the chief rabbinate of Israel, which normally doesn't do hashgachas. Who does hashgachas in each town? The hashgachas in Beit Shemesh, on the different stores, it's not the Rabbanut Rashit. Who's the stores? Who's doing the hashgachas on each of these? It used to be when we came to town 15, 20 years ago, there was about one half of a restaurant that opened maybe one day a week, right? Now there's about 3,000 restaurants in Beit Shemesh. Who is overseeing them? The Rabbanut Beit Shemesh, the local Rabbanut. Okay. The Rabbanut of Israel, they're not overseeing any towns. Each town sees the town. The Rabbanut of each town is checking that out.
But with permission of the Rabbanut.
Yeah, but you're not going to see. Go next door to the falafel to the Naki store, right? The meat bar, which we're all waiting for the new meat bar to finish up in another week or two. Okay? So they're redoing it over there. So, truthfully, I think they have machbet, but that's Bet Yosef. I don't even know if they have the Rabbanut there. Legally, every institution, every restaurant, it has to have a Rabbanut, and you want to have the Badatz, Reuben, add whatever you want. But legally, you're supposed to have a Rabbanut. And then you have additions as well. And the reason is because you just don't know, what other standards are out there. The Rabbanut is a basic standard. But many restaurants say, forget it, we're not going to have the Rabbanut. We're just going to go for our badatzes because we know our clientele. Our clientele don't care at all about what? Rabbanut. And all they care about is having the badatz. So why should we pay the Rabbanut? Even though it's a small amount for the Rabbanut. It's illegal. It's an interesting question. Should you patronize, not patronize such an establishment where they're not following the law? On the other hand, they have the badatz, and if it's a badatz that you eat, what's the problem? It's an interesting discussion, not for now. So, but if you go to a rabbanut, a place which has rabbanut, it's not going to say of the chief rabbinate. The bottom line is, as far as I know, the chief rabbinate doesn't give hashgachot to local places. That's for the local rabbanut to give. The chief rabbinate, if I'm not mistaken, is involved in giving hashgachah. It's involved in a lot of different things, the chief rabbinate, of course, policy in Israel, other different kinds of halachot. The chief rabbi will sit on the Beit Din. There's some divorce cases that I'm involved in, not from our community, Baruch Hashem, and it's unbelievable. In both cases, who is the rabbi who's overseeing the case, sitting in the Beit Din with these poor women? You know who? Rabbi Lau. Both cases. I was shocked. The chief rabbi of Israel. He sits on the Beit Din. So I was fascinated. It was unbelievable. I was so shocked that he's involved. And I was dealing with two cases on this. Who's the rabbi? Oh, it's Rabbi Lau. The chief rabbi of Israel. It's like, what? And he's involved. I was very impressed. So here he is, the big Rabbi Lau. I mean, you have the senior Rabbi Lau from Tel Aviv. But the Rabbi Lau, chief rabbi, is a big man. And they said he's really there. He's present. These poor ladies feel his presence. To me, it's mamash a beautiful thing, which I doubt too many people are aware. So the Rabbanut has a lot of different hats. And one is the imports, food that's imported into Israel. That has to go through the Rabbanut. And if you see any food that comes in without hashgach, it's imported without the Rabbanut, you have to look into that. Where's that coming from? And call me and ask me, and I'll check it out. And I'm going to call the Rabbanut up. What's going on with this food? Okay. So the Rabbanut, so now let's take the box of meat that comes in. Rabbanut, Chalak, Mahadran. So what is that saying? So it's saying there are Rabbanut of Israel, the chief rabbinate of Israel. They sent a team to Uruguay, to South America. They did the shechita, and they are saying that this is halak. The term Mahadran is thrown in, but the real term you care about is halak, meat. And assuming you are comfortable with the chief rabbinate of Israel, so then that's it. You have now glot meat. You have glot meat. Okay? So that's the term. So we should hopefully trying to clear the air, have understood all the different terms. Galat, halak is the same thing. Mahadran is a general term which is a claim that it's a higher standard. The examples of the higher standard, let's just finish up the list. I didn't forget about you still. I just wanted to get this list and then we'll take up your question. I hope. We'll leave that there. So what else? Galat, halak, mi. So is that clear? Is this term clear? And then, so Rabbanut Rashit is claiming that. That's why when someone asked me, whenever asked me about Margaret's the meat there. Oh, so you have, let's say we'll bring in some who's that superstar rabbi who somehow is very popular. Rabbi Levine, not our own Rabbi Levine, there's some Rabbi Levine, and he became very popular. People will get it. The Rabbi Levine. Apparently, he's from South America. Has a yeshiva there. He's very popular, and that's equal to the Badatzes. So people will say, "Oh, Rabbi Levine, that's Mahadran. The Rabbanut is Rabbanut." Not true. If you want to use the term Mahadran to mean halak meat, the Rabbanut is halak meat.
Always.
No, the Rabbanut that says halak. You might have Rabbanut that's not halak. You have to look. But the Rabbanut with Margaret's meats, if someone says, I want the Mahadran, so therefore I'm going to get Rabbi Levine. You can get the Rabbanut also. It's also Mahadran. If you say, I don't rely on Rabbanut, that's a whole discussion we can have, but it has nothing to do with the Rabbanut meat not being Mahadran. Rabbanut doesn't mean it's not Mahadran. You have to check. What is this meat? When I was in Ranana a few years ago, I saw it was Rabbanut, Ranana, and it was not Mahadran. It was not halak. Fine. But then you can have meat, like we get from South America, that's Rabbanut, halak. Okay. Now, finishing up the list, then we'll try to take a few more questions. So then you have gelatin. Gelatin, a Mahadran hashkacha will not have the old-fashioned gelatin in it. What's the old-fashioned gelatin? Made from?
Leather.
From what?
Made from leather as well. Hides.
Hides from non-kosher animals, possibly. The old-fashioned can be made from non-kosher ingredients. How could you have such a thing? And the answer is what? There were great rabbis who were lenient based on the claim that that's it. Davar Hadash, it's not usher, it's not edible, it's a whole new process. Anyone wants to learn about the whole chemical process, tomorrow night at this exact podium, Mort is going to be giving an explanation of the whole chemical process. That's your field. Okay, so you'll work out the time with him.
Food chemist friend who said that you can't possibly have gelatin that's hard.
Okay.
Really?
It has to come from an animal.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, Edie and Mort are going to be presenting. Anyway, so that's an amazing topic. And did you still have today it go on anymore? I just don't know the market. When I came 15 years ago, I think some of the creams. It could be new. What's that called? The chocolate pudding with that white cream on top.
Chocolate pudding.
Damn, we got to get with the program. You have to get what? Milky. Come on. Not pudding and cream. We have to get the terms. Milky. If I'm not mistaken, some of the Milkies, when I came, I could be wrong, had the gelatin in it. And you had to be an educated consumer. Does that mean it was treif? Chas v'shalom. You had great rabbis permitting it, and the rabbanut were never permitted if they didn't have great rabbis behind it. Chas v'shalom. But a Mahadran will not rely on that heter, on that leniency. Okay? Nowadays, I think fish gelatin from fish bones became much more efficient, and it's much more, it's easier to process and cheaper, and therefore I don't know if you have products anymore, but I have to check. Yeah, Shmuel, how you doing?
Fish gelatin is very popular.
What?
Fish gelatin
Exactly.
is very
So
popular.
the marshmallows, years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was old-fashioned gelatin, and now I think marshmallows have the fish gelatin. Okay, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yeah.
There's a difference between, just if I'm correct, there's a difference between saying someone's relying on a heter as opposed to someone being machmir, like the...
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to get that as well. I'm going to finish this list, and then let's deal with that. Chalav akum. So that's the famous discussion of what? Milk that is milk without any Jewish supervision. The most well-known rabbi was Rav Moshe Feinstein 60, 70 years ago. okay, in the 50s in the States, where he said that the companies in America, without any mashkiach, without any Jews overseeing the process, you can still drink it. What do you mean? Yeah, but the milk might be from a pig. Rav Moshe. No, of course there's government supervision, and that's considered proper supervision. Of course there's a fine, and that's enough. And then people answered back, what do you mean? You need a Jew. You have to have the proper shkiach. And others said back, wait a second, the fine is a slap on the wrist. That's not a fine. Back and forth, back and forth. But so there are those that say you need Jewish supervision, end the discussion. And there are those who rely on Rav Moshe. There are those that say Rav Moshe was totally fine with the leniency. Others that say no, Rav Moshe only said it when there was a need. Back and forth, back and forth. A mahadrin hashkacha will usually not rely on, I don't think we'll ever rely on chalav akum. When you see the chocolate, the elite chocolate, it's imported, and it says la ochle avkat chalav. It's for those who eat the akum, and you will not find a badatz. So if you see a chocolate that's not badatz, there's a good chance it's because the milk in it, or the powder in it, is from the milk that's processed without a Jewish supervision, and they're relying on Rav Moshe's leniency.
But that milk powder, I don't think is that relying on the Moshe's leniency?
Very good. So then maybe in the future we'll even cover, that's a good way, I'm going to put that down, to go through the Hatzvi and other opinions about the milk powder. Let me put that down to cover that in the future shiur. Okay, good. And then what else do we have on the list? Challah from Shabbat. That's another one, where a Rabbanut will rely on it, and a Mahadran will not rely on it. What's challah from Shabbat? Anyone know? It was milked on Shabbat with machines and automation, and Israel, of course, is a world leader in that, like it is in everything. Baruch Hashem, good Jewish pride. Okay, and the automated computer hookups and this and that. And there's a lot of great leniencies there. And we'll discuss the term leniency in a moment, Dovi. It's a great question you asked. So once again, you will find a Mahadrin Hashgacha will not accept the milk on Shabbos, but a Rabbanut will. Okay, and there's great room to be lenient. There's just different opinions. And all these, and these are all topics we're throwing out. If you want to understand more about it, just let me know, and we could cover these more in the future. And is that the end of our list? That's the end of this list, okay? Let's see if we could squeeze in. I'd like to answer Dovi and more. The very, very, very important point that Dovi is asking. Can you rephrase it? Can you say it again?
Certain things you're relying on a leniency, right? And there's certain things where you're choosing not to follow the stringency.
Excellent. It's a great point. When am I being lenient? When am I being stringent? How do we look at it? Is it that I'm following the law and you're choosing to be what? Stringent. Or you're following the law and I'm choosing to be lenient. In other words, what's the gold standard? And no one should ever feel bad if they're following the law and others choose to be stringent, and now I'm like sort of a third wheel. I'm following the do it. I'm following the lean. I'm following the din. So that is a knockout question, okay? And I'm a very, very big fan of the question and the answer. Because to me, as a Jew, what Hashem demands us is to follow one 3-letter word. Din. Law. You want to be stringent? Okay, I hope you have good reasons to be stringent. I hope your stringency is not causing problems in Klal Yisrael. Let's say that we're going to be stringent and checking things now I'm not saying that's what's going on by the chickens, God forbid. But let's say, we're going to be careful and check the chickens now. Statistically, we don't need to, but we're going to do it anyway. That's not a simple stringency, because that money, that now you're setting a new standard. You're raising the bar, okay? You're raising the bar, and like now, no company's going to be acceptable if they don't have the chicken open. Now, wait a second. The Machba'ah, I think Reuben, who started it, their claim is that it's need and that's din, and I'm not challenging it. But chas v'shalom, if they're just going to go, I'll be stringent. Statistically, we don't need to, but we'll be... you be careful about that stringency. Because you're just like now raising it up, and anyone who doesn't have it, that hashkacha is a nebuch. So be very careful. So now you say, well, what's din? Din means that you're applying as honestly and objectively and rationally the din based on the Shulchan Aruch. So now, the Shulchan Aruch sets up a standard. So let's take the Reuben and the chickens, which I never investigated. You need to not only investigate the halacha, you need to just know the statistics. Could you even Google statistics on chickens with broken legs from the arms, from the feet, from the hand? Maybe, I don't know. But you have to do a lot of good, honest research out there. But theoretically, and I'm not holding this, I can't say, I don't know the research out there on the farms, right? From all the shots and from the handling on the trucks. But theoretically, din means you go through Siman Lamed Tet of the Shulchan Aruch in Yoreh Deah, and you go through all the relevant sources that lead up to it about checking lungs. You see all the commentaries. Why do we check the lungs? Because it's shchiach. Shchiach means what? It's common. What does it mean? It's common to have a problem with the lungs. Okay, so we need now to define what term? Common. 6%, 10%, 12%. You need to go through all the sources now in defining the term shchiach, common. And then you will take that term and you will honestly check the market, what's going on in the world of chickens today. Is it, quote, common to have what? Problems with the legs. And then that's not a stringency, you're applying the din. And I hope you're doing this honestly and objectively and clearly. Then that's din. But if you're just saying, well, really, the chicken, the statistics in the lungs was this, but I'm going to be strict. We're creating a stringency. Be careful. Do you hear? So to me, you need to go through every topic, each topic separately. You need to be a Talmid Chacham. And say, this is the din. This is the din. And, that's the din from the Shulchan Aruch and the classical poskim. You want to be stringent, be stringent. And if you do less than that, you're being lenient. Okay? So you need to go. So the word din to me is the bottom line. And you have to go through every single halacha separately, or learn it with your Rav, or with your Chavruta, and know, this is din. Gelatin. Is that I'm being lenient? No, that's really the din. And there are those who don't eat, are being stringent. Dovi mentioned halak meat. So I eat regular meat. I will go to any supermarket. If there's any hashgacha, I'm going to eat it. You want to be stringent? Be stringent. We need to go through. Okay.
So if I'm looking at Yesh and I see the 40 shekel kilo chicken versus the 20 shekel kilo chicken.
Good.
So what do we do? Because one.
So what you need to do with us. So we have to examine. So you need to know. I can't give a specific answer now. The general answer, which we're going to continue. This is an amazing topic. Is you need to analyze which company is keeping din, right? And then once you're keeping din, you're good to go. And then you can decide, I want to be stringent or no. I'd rather give the extra money to tzedakah. So that's the key. So the answer is so simple, but endless. The answer is, once I have din, that's all I have to do. But now you have to study every area of halacha and every case to know what's din. So Mitzvah Hashem will learn together the next 120 years, and we'll figure out in every case what's din, and we'll work it through. Final question.
I ask you to investigate Atara meat, because it is so much cheaper than anything else.
But what's hashgacha on it?
Beit Yosef.
Badatz Beit Yosef.
Badatz Beit Yosef, right? So now we know to use the term Badatz Beit Yosef. Because if you just say Beit Yosef, that could be the Rabbanut Rashit Beit Yosef, right? Halak Beit Yosef. So here it's Badatz Beit Yosef. So Mitzvah Hashem will.
He said you can investigate. A lot of the Hasidim think to use it.
Really? That's interesting.
Is it okay for us? Because the price differential is.
I hear that. Okay, very good.
Okay, Mitzvah will continue. More questions, please. Call, send me during the week. Okay, Shkaya.